Welcome to Drive the Daf. Clear, structured explanation of the daily Daf in 20 minutes. You can even follow in the car.
Beitzah Daf. We begin with the Mishnah at the bottom of Daf Yud Zayin, and we're discussing the topic of Tevilah, to bring Tahara in honor of Yom Tov. We know that there is a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah that says that a person and all his kalim are supposed to be Tahar l'kavod Yom Tov. So the question over here is, what happens when Yom Tov is on a Sunday? So it's following Shabbos. When should a person do Tevilah, go to the mikvah, put himself in the mikvah, and put his kalim, his possessions in the mikvah to make sure that they are tahar for Yom Tov? So the Mishnah says as follows: Machlokas Beis Hillel Meishamai, if you're allowed to do it before Yom, if you have to do it before Yom Tov and Shabbos, or if you do it on Yom Tov and Shabbos. So Beis Shammai says it has to be done before, and therefore if Yom Tov is on Sunday, you can't do it on Sunday. You can't do it on Shabbos, which is the day before. You have to do it before both of them on Friday. Therefore, he and his kalim both have to be put in the mikvah before Shabbos. Beis Hillel says you can do it on Shabbos or on Yom Tov, but that's only a person. A person is able to go to the mikvah on Shabbos or on Yom Tov, but the kalim have to be put in on Friday before Shabbos and Yom Tov, and the Gemara will explain why the kalim are different. Now the Gemara discusses how you do tahara on water. That is, you have water, good drinking water, but it is tamei. How you matahar that? So the Mishnah says you should fill up a kli of stone with that water. A kli of stone is not makabel tamei at all. Take that tamei water, put it in the mikvah, just enough so that the water contacts the water of the mikvah. The drinking water, which is in the kli, contacts the water of the mikvah. That creates hashaka, where there is a connection, however small. There is a minimum size to it, but the Mishnah doesn't refer to it. There's a connection between the two bodies of water. The drinking water and the kli, which is tamei, is now touching the water of the mikvah, and therefore it is now tahar water. This is the only way to be metaher food or drink, and that is by connecting water to the water of a mikvah. Now the reason why you want to keep the two separate is you don't want to contaminate your drinking water with the mikvah water, so just let it touch but not mix. Now, you cannot, however, use this method to be metaher a kli. You have to use a stone kli even, in order to do this, because that's not makabel tumah. If you have a kli eitz, a wooden kli, which is tamei, you fill it up with the water and put it in the mikvah, that will be trying to be metaher the wooden kli to get the tumah off by having it now surrounded by water on all sides, water which is the mikvah water and the drinking water that's connected to it, but you can't do that. You're not allowed to do tevilah on a kli on Shabbos. Now, the Mishnah ends off and it says you can do tevilah migav lagav, from chabur to chabur, and the Gemara will explain what that means. Okay, so now the Gemara begins. The Gemara wants to know, why is there a difference between tevilah of a person and tevilah of kalim? This is primarily in Beis Hillel Shita. Beis Hillel here agrees to Beis Shammai that you're not allowed to do tevilah of a kli on Shabbos. Apparently not on Yom Tov either. So the Gemara wants to know why not. So Rabbi says it's a gzeira. We're afraid if we allow you to do tevilah, you're going to end up carrying it to the mikvah. You'll be carrying it on Shabbos. So the Gemara's first question is, what if he has a mikvah in his house? What if he has a mikvah in his yard? Gemara says gzeira. We don't want you to do tevilah even if you don't have to go outside the eruv. You have one within your eruv, within your house. We are making gzeira. We want to aser all tefillahs on Shabbos, so you shouldn't end up carrying by accident. So Gemara says, okay, that works for Shabbos. What about Yom Tov? Yom Tov, you're allowed to carry l'tzorach Yom Tov. So Gemara says, gzeira. We don't want you to do it on Yom Tov because you might end up doing it on Shabbos. Now the Gemara has a long list of proofs that there's no such gzeira. You don't make gzeira asering you to do tevilah on Yom Tov because you may end up doing tevilah on Shabbos. So the Gemara's first proof is from the case in the Mishnah that you're allowed to be metaher the water that's in your kli. If you have tamei drinking water, you could be metahered by connecting it to mikvah water. And the Gemara's question is that we see that you're allowed to fill up a kli with water in order to be metaher the water, but you're not allowed to be metaher the kli. So Gemara says, if you were going to make a gzeira that you should not do a permitted tevilah because you may end up doing a forbidden tevilah, like we said, you shouldn't do tevilah on Yom Tov because you may end up doing tevilah on Shabbos. That's true. Then you should make this gzeira also. You should say you're not allowed to be metaher the water in the kli because you may end up being metaher the kli itself. So Gemara says, no, it's not likely, because since he's working hard to be metaher his water, obviously he doesn't have a lot of drinking water, and therefore he's going to be careful with it, and therefore it's unlikely to become tamei, and it's a rare event that it becomes tamei. We have a rule in rare events the Rabbanan did not make special gzeiros. The Gemara's next kasha is from halacha that says if you have a tamei pail, you're allowed to be metahired by drawing water from a mikvah. Just like you're drawing water from the well, you draw water from the mikvah. It's part of a water drawing activity. You're allowed to be metahired that. Now, generally, the problem with being metahired kli on Shabbos or Yom Tov is that it looks like metakin. It's the appearance of fixing it. So here, where it has a different appearance, it just looks like you're drawing water, it's permitted. So Gemara's question is, why are you allowed to do that? If you allow him to be metahired the kli by drawing water with it, he'll come to be metahired regular. According to you, that we make such gzeiros, we should make a gzeiro here also and forbid that. So Gemara says, no, because he's only allowed to do it in a drawing motion, he'll remember and he won't make a mistake and end up doing it in a regular tvila motion. Gemara's next kasha. I have a halacha that says that if you have a kli that's tummy on Yom Tov, you need to be metahired. So halacha is as follows. If it was tummy already before Yom Tov, you should have put it in the mikveh before Yom Tov. You're not allowed to be metahired now on Yom Tov. You're not allowed to put it in the mikveh on Yom Tov. There's a knas. If it ever became tummy on Yom Tov, then you're allowed to put it in the mikveh on Yom Tov. Gemara's kasha is again, if you make such gzeiros, we should answer that also. Gzeiro, you make him to be metahired kli that was tummy already before Yom Tov. Gemara says, no, a kli becoming tummy on Yom Tov is not common. It's a milsa de shchicha, and the Rabbanan did not make rules, did not make gzeiros on things which are not common. Next kasha, the Gemara says, we have a halacha that says that a kli which is tamei, it depends what type of tumah it has, whether or not you're allowed to do tefillah on it. Yom Tov. It has tumah of av hatumah, that is, it became a tamei with something which is an av hatumah. It itself is a tumah source. So then you're not allowed to do tefillah with it. You are not allowed to be matbalit and be matarid on Yom Tov. If however it became tamei with a vlad hatumah, that is tumah which got tumah from something else, and it's got to be kalim or food or drink, so it's a lower level tumah, then you are allowed to do tefillah on Yom Tov. So Gemara says again, same question, you should answer that. According to you that you make gzeiros, you should answer that tefillah also. You should answer the tefillah of a vlad hatumah, because you may end up doing tefillah on an av hatumah. So Gemara says, now who is it that cares about tefillah of a vlad hatumah? It's only kahanim, because this vlad hatumah, the most it can be is a rishon hatumah, a first level tumah, that is a gat tumah from a tumah source. And then the only tumah it could create is a sheni l'tumah. And the only thing that could become a sheni l'tumah is truma. It has a special kedusha, and it is therefore susceptible to the halachos of sheni, of tumas, of a sheni l'tumah. That being the case, the only people who care about that are kahanim. Well, kahanim are careful with their kalim to make sure they don't become tummy. Therefore, this is uncommon. And again, uncommon things we don't make gzeiros. Okay, Gemara's next proof is a Beitzah that says that a nida who wants to go to the mikvah, but she has no tahar clothing to change into afterwards, she's allowed to go to the mikvah with her clothing on, and then that'll be a tefillah both for her and for her clothing. Generally, we don't allow tefillah of kalim, which includes clothing, on Shabbos or Yom Tov, but this is a special case. We allowed her to do this because she's not really doing a tefillah straight in, and is not near a attacking, because it just looks like she's going for a swim to cool off, and her clothing and herself will become tahar together. Versus again, same kasha. We should say that she shouldn't be allowed to do tefillah with her clothing on to be matayar the kelim that way, because people will end up doing tefillah of kelim straight. Someone says no, because she has to do it dressed, so it's a strange activity, and she'll realize that it's not allowed in the normal way. Okay, this concludes all the Gemara's kashas. The Gemara now gives another explanation of why we said you cannot do tefillah of kelim in a mikvah on Shabbos. And the Gemara brings Rav Yosef's opinion. Rav Yosef says, the problem is we're afraid that you're going to squeeze out clothing. If we allow you to do tefillah of kelim, you'll put your clothing in the mikvah, then it'll be wet, and then you will squeeze it out. So Abaye asks a kasha, well, then not all kelim are squeezable. It's only cloth. So it should only apply to cloth. You should be allowed to tovel kelim, which are not squeezable, and this does not apply. So Gemara says, again, gzeira. We're going to make a gzeira. We're going to say that you're not allowed to do tefillah on any kli gzeira because of the ones which are squeezable, and you'll squeeze the water out. And so now we go back through all the kashas again. Do we make such gzeiras? We'll have all the questions and we have all the answers again. Now the Gemara brings the opinion of Rav Bivi. Rav Bivi says there's a different reason you're not allowed to do tefillah of kelim on Shabbos or on Yom Tov itself. And that is because we are afraid that people will not do tefillah before Shabbos and Yom Tov, because they'll know, hey, I could always do it on Yom Tov or on Shabbos itself. And then they will end up delaying. If you delay and you leave tummy things around, you'll end up using it, and then you'll end up with problems because of that reason. The Gemara brings a Beitzah that says this as well, that a kli which is tummy before Yom Tov, you cannot do tefillah on Yom Tov, because they'll end up leaving it around for too long. Rava says there's a different reason. The reason is, like we said before, there's a svara called nirak imataking kli. It looks like you're fixing the kli. You're taking something unusable and you're making it usable. That has the appearance of tikkun. Tikkun is asur on Shabbos and a yontif. So if that's true, so then you shouldn't be allowed to be tova yourself. A person should not allowed to go to the mikveh either. That's also tikkun. Where it says no, a person could be going for a swim. It doesn't look like he's going to the mikveh. It looks like he's going swimming to cool off. Says, well, that only works if it's clean swimming water. If it's nasty water, can't be swimming there. Someone says no. Sometimes people will swim in nasty water during a heat wave, and you're really hot. You'll take a swim in all kinds of water, even water that was used to soak flax, which is really fumigated. And where it says, okay, but this is only true during the summer when people are hot. During the winter months, nobody's going to cool off. You cannot say that it looks like he's going for a swim. It looks, obviously, it's clear that he's doing tevilah. So where it says, no, again, not a proof. There are people who go for a swim during the winter also. Somebody who's dirty and muddy and he's filthy with all kinds of filth comes in from the fields and he goes into water, even bad water. Where it says, okay, this is true for Shabbos though, but on Yom Kippur, nobody can clean himself in Yom Kippur. You're not allowed to wash on Yom Kippur. So you are allowed to do tefillah on Yom Kippur. Tefillah's mitzvah is allowed. Why should you be allowed to do tefillah on Yom Kippur? You can't tell me that it doesn't look like tikkun because he looks like he's swimming. You're not allowed to swim. You're not allowed to wash on Yom Kippur. The Gemara says no. Yom Kippur and Shabbos always have the same halachas. You can't have Yom Kippur have any worse halachas of Hilchos Shabbos than Shabbos does. Shabbos itself is the prime of all halachas for Hilchos Shabbos and Malacha. If it's permitted on Shabbos, you cannot make it asur on Yom Kippur, and therefore it's mutter just because it's mutter on Shabbos. So now the Gemara has a kasha on this. How could you tell me that Rava holds of this concept of hoil? What do we mean by hoil? Rava has just said that if it's mutter on Shabbos, it's mutter on Yom Kippur. That's what we mean by hoil. Since it's mutter on Shabbos, it's mutter on Yom Kippur as well. Where is the kasha on this? And this comes from a totally different sugya. Sugya about somebody who has a toothache and he wants to rinse his mouth with vinegar. So you're not allowed to do that on Shabbos or on Yontif because it's refuah. You're using a medical treatment. So the Gemara has two contradictory mishnayos, differing answers of Abaye and Rava. And we're going to focus on Rava's answer and show that he does hold the concept of hoil. What are the contradictory mishnayos? So one Mishnah says you're not allowed to rinse your mouth with vinegar, which is a potential cure. The other thing you could do is dip your food into vinegar, and if that helps solve your problem, that's fine. The other Mishnah says that you are allowed to rinse your mouth with vinegar as long as you swallow it. If you spit it out, that you're not allowed to do because that's clear that it's for refuah. So we have a contradiction. Are you allowed to rinse your mouth with vinegar or not? First Mishnah says no. Second Mishnah says yes, as long as you swallow it. So Abaye says no contradiction. The Mishnah that says you're not allowed to do it is talking about spitting. But it agrees you're allowed to swallow it. Rava says no, it depends if you're before eating or after eating. Before eating, you're allowed to rinse your mouth with vinegar because it looks like it's part of your food. You pre-treat your mouth with vinegar so that your food will have a certain taste. Once you've eaten already and you've dipped your food into vinegar like people normally do, there's no excuse for washing your mouth with the vinegar. At this point, it's obviously refuah and therefore it's asur. And we're all talking about where you're swallowing it. So now, the Gemara says, Rava therefore holds that something becomes asur halfway through Shabbos. Before you ate, you would be allowed to wash your mouth with vinegar in order to cure your toothache. After you've eaten, now it's asur. Now, according to Rava's sheet of hoil, he should say, since it's mutter in the first part of Shabbos, it's mutter in the latter part of Shabbos, and therefore Rava doesn't hold of this concept of hoil. He should therefore not say that since it's mutter on Shabbos to go to the mikveh, it's mutter on Yom Kippur. Somebody says Rava changed this psak. Rava no longer holds of this psak. Rava now holds like Abaye, and therefore he doesn't agree, and he does hold of hoil, and if it would be permitted in the first part of Shabbos, it would be permitted in the latter part of Shabbos, and therefore if it's permitted on Shabbos to go to the mikveh, it's permitted on Yom Kippur to go to the mikveh. The says, how do you know we changed this psak? Maybe change the other psak. But no, it can't be that he changed the other psak, because we do have a brayso which says clearly that you are allowed to go to the mikveh on Tisha B'Av and on Yom Kippur. Gemara now moves on to discuss the next line in the Mishnah, which refers to the fact that you're allowed to put a kli filled with water into a mikveh for the purpose of being matayar the water in it, but not for the purpose of being matayar the kli. The Gemara says this does not fit with either Rebbe or the Chachamim. Rebbe says both those activities are asur. The Chachamim say both those activities are permitted. Our Mishnah says, however, that being matayar the water is permitted, being matayar the kli is asur. So it doesn't fit with either of them. So my answer is no. Rebbe and the Chachamim are not that simple. Rebbe and the Chachamim differentiate between Shabbos and Yontif. According to Rebbe, both activities are usher on Shabbos, but being matar the kli is mutter and yantif and usher, and being matar the water is usher. According to the Chachamim, it's the other way around. Both activities are permitted on yantif. Being matar the kli is usher on yantif, but being matar the water is permitted on yantif. Therefore, it comes out that our Mishnah could fit into both opinions. According to Rebbe, it could be referring to Yom Tov, where it's permitted to be matahar the water, not the kli. And according to the Chachamim, that is, according to Chachamim, it could be referring to Yom Tov, where it's permitted to matahar the water, not the kli. According to Rebbe, it could be referring to Shabbos, where it's permitted to be matahar the water and not the kli. Either way, there's an opinion that it could be referring to. It's just a question of is it Shabbos or...
Drive the Daf is a project of the Grand Woodlands Shul and is presented by Rabbi Yitzchak Landa. Find us on YouTube or subscribe to daily emails by emailing drivethedaf@gmail.com.